Welcome back to Steve Robb Reviews. Today's going to be an interesting subject. It's going to be on a little more information than I had last week on picking a scan tool. Last week's video was really about, well, your really basic scan tool. And today I'm going to share my thoughts on what is the best scan tool for someone who's a do-it-yourselfer, who isn't, I would say, an advanced do-it-yourselfer. But today, well, we're living in an age where everybody wants to sell you more and, kind of upgrade your scan tool to the point where, well, you can't figure it out, right? So, yeah, there's a lot of scan tools out there in the market, and a lot of them, well, they're geared to sell you something that you really can't use. And, for a lot of people, they may think to themselves, well, I'd like to get the best scan tool out there because, well, I want to find the problem fast. Well, for most do-it-yourselfers, you don't really got to find the problem that fast, do we? We can take our time and, there's no big rush. But, when you're thinking about, there's a lot of people out there who have never fixed their own vehicle before. And, the best advice I can give to anybody is to form a relationship with a good shop, somebody that you trust. And, because there's a lot of people have no interest at all in fixing their own cars. All they want to do is just, if they have a problem, take it to a shop and get it fixed. And that's absolutely fantastic. There's no problem doing that at all. And that's how a lot of shops survive, right? So, yeah, getting a good relationship with a shop is, I think, paramount, especially if over the long term, the vast majority of auto mechanics out there are honest people. So, if you're watching a lot of YouTube videos and you're always hearing about the corruption of, there's the other shop, right? There's always some other shop that screwed something up or they're incompetent and this kind of stuff. Well, some shops are far and few between, but they make good YouTube, right? But, no, I would say the vast majority of automotive technicians out there are perfectly honest. They're just a regular part of our society like everybody else. But you do run into the odd person who is, well, I would say, a rip-off artist. So I would suggest that everyone who owns a vehicle should have like the basic scan tool like I showed last week, just a $30 scan tool or even less if you just want a code reader, just to tell you what the code is. Because if you don't have a reliable shop, if you're only just taking your vehicle in to get fixed whenever it breaks down and you don't really know them, you don't have any kind of relationship with them at all, well, you're not really prepared, really, because, the last thing you want to do is just have like a, say a symptom of a vehicle that's not running too well, and you don't know what it is, right? You haven't got a clue, but you have a scan tool, like a real cheapy one, like $30 or less, and you read the code, and, you got that in the back of your mind, and when you take the vehicle in there, and, mechanic comes back out to the desk and says to you, it's going to be $1,500 because you need a brake job, new set of tires, and, God knows what else, right? Well, then you're a little bit more prepared because, you only had one code on the vehicle and, this guy wants to replace every part on the engine he can think of. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, a little bit of knowledge and, for, under $30, that's a pretty cheap kind of way of just double checking to make sure you're not getting hosed, right? So I'm going to take you over to the workbench here, and I'm going to show you just the scan tool I use. And, like there's so many of these scan tools out there, but this is just one model that I use. And I'm going to take a look at it, and I'm going to show you some tips when you're thinking about getting a scan tool for yourself. And what kind of scan tool could you get, for the money. And this one here is like $60. And the only thing I'm going to show a little bit different is I have an attachment that goes with it. And I think everybody should have one of these attachments. And I'm saying that this particular type of scan tool, and I'll show you, is pretty much the only scan tool a regular do-it-yourselfer needs that's only working on his own vehicles and maybe a couple of his friends, because it works on every vehicle. I would say from 1996 up, it works on every vehicle. I'll touch into a little bit more about the selling techniques that you see on so many different media platforms trying to sell you more. And in this particular case, when they're trying to sell you more, you're getting more for less. And we'll get into that later. But right now, let's go over to the workbench. I'll show you the scan tool I use, and I'll show you a couple of tips that, well, I bet you a lot of you don't know about. Okay, so let's just start off right here. This is the scan tool that I used. I showed that last week, and this is my Launch. The company's name is Launch, and it's called C-Reader 6. Now, they make one now that's a C-Reader 5 Plus, but the whole idea behind this little scan tool is it's got a color display, and it does everything that I want for $60. And when you're thinking about, well, how big of a scan tool do you need, and how much should you spend? Well, I'm saying this is pretty much it right here. Now, don't pay any attention to the brand. There's all kinds of other brands out there that do the exact same thing for around the same money. The only thing that I wanted is I wanted a display. I wanted it in color. I wanted it to be able to do graphing, at least two different parameters of, well, just 2 data PIDs or 2 information systems that I could screen on the front here. And this is all OBD2. So that means everything from 96 right up to your 2022 model years. Well, you can get just the basic information off of this. And for most do-it-yourselfers, well, that's all you need. But I'd like to just show you something. On last week's scan tool that I showed, the real cheapie, well, I never showed the plug end. So I'm just going to show you the plug end here. And I'll just try to get as close as I can there. And you could see that all the pins are there. So how many pins are supposed to be there? Well, last week's scan tool had 9 pins. This one here, well, it's got 16. So if you're looking at a scan tool, the first thing to do is see how many pins it's got here. Because you know what? If it's got a 9 pin, well, you're down to a really basic scan tool. If it's got a 16 pin, well, the odds are, well, you're going to have a much better unit, and it's going to give you some more parameters. You're not going to get any more information, really, but you're going to get a lot better information and how it's displayed. So what we have here is just a regular extension cable, and this here just plugs into this one here. Now you can see the 2 different ends. So I mean, like this one here is 3 foot long. So you can get ones that are longer. And that's how I use mine, like this, plugged in. Because a lot of times, you know what? You want to have this plugged in and the cable is short. So if you want to sit in the driver's seat and have somebody else drive, you can look at this. Or if you want to just display it, you know, out in the front of your car while you're working on it, like on the windshield area. So when you're doing something, you can look at the screen and see if there's any type of well, difference in the data PIDs, because a lot of times that's what you're looking at. You're looking at information on the screen, how to interpret it, and you know, how to fix your vehicle. So, in my opinion, for most do-it-yourselfers, you don't have to go out there and spend yourself a lot of money. Now, last year I went and bought the same capability of this scan tool. It was during that. You know, in the fall they have these Black Friday sales, and it was pretty much exactly like this, except it was bigger. It had a bigger screen on it, but it didn't do anything more. And I just wanted to have a bigger screen for 200 bucks. I thought it was a good deal, but I brought the scan tool home, tried it, and it wouldn't even work. So I sent it back, and I haven't bothered since. But you know, when you're taking a look at that scan tools, well, there's a huge problem when you're thinking about looking at scan tools beyond this, models like this, like the cheapies. Because you know what? This is a cheapie for 60 bucks. Does everything I need for all the vehicles that, you know, that I work on, and you know, within my capabilities. But there's a lot of knockoff scan tools. There's a lot of brand new scan tools out there that are fake, and we're going to get into that in a minute, but just think about it. How many criminals want to knock off a $60 scan tool? No, they don't want to do that, right? Same as the ones that want to make fake money. How many fake $1 bills do you think there are out there? Absolutely none, because there's no money in it. Same as here. So I mean, if you're thinking about, you know, taking a chance on getting a fake $60 scan tool, well, the odds are it's real. So let's get on to the buying tips of what you should actually consider when you're thinking about buying say an upper level scan tool and where you should buy it from. And first thing is, well, I just bought this myself off of Amazon. This was $17, you know, on sale, the Black Friday deals. And I have two of these. You know, of course, I have two scan tools as well. I've got another one that's an older model. It's really not as good as this, but I paid twice as much 15 years ago. But it's always good to have a backup, right? So let's get on to the buying choices and what you should consider when you're thinking about buying a scan tool, especially off of the web. Okay, so there's a lot of people out there who are do-it-yourselfers, and you know, they'd like to up their game and get like a lot better scan tool that does some bi-directional control or does a lot more things than just the basic scan tool can do. And that's fine. I think that's just awesome that you want to, you know, learn more and actually have the capability to actually do more things. But there's some things that I found out when I was searching to get like an upgraded scan tool was that there's so many fakes out there. And the one that I was looking at had lifetime updates. And you'll see this, lifetime updates. So, like always, I ask a lot of questions. And you know, this lifetime update, there's a lot of people that believe that you can buy a scan tool today, you know, and it'll keep updating in the future for, you know, brand new vehicles coming up. So if you bought one today, you know, it'll just lifetime updates, right? And you could buy a brand new vehicles 10 years from now and it'll keep on updating right to that brand new vehicle, right? No, not a chance. So I mean, yeah, the lifetime updates is primarily on what's on the tool or the scan tool as it is for the model years that it covers. And you know, for most scan tools, not the most high-end, but for most scan tools that are just not beginner scan tools, well, they don't really cover any of the years that the vehicles are under warranty. So for about the first 5 years, nobody wants to build a scan tool for vehicles that are under warranty because guess what? You're not going to fix them yourself. You're going to take them back to your dealer, right? So they don't actually build the scan tools, you know, for late model vehicles. So a lot of people think that they can have a late model vehicle and, you know, just go and buy a scan tool and it says lifetime updates. Well, they may never update to your vehicle. And not even that, but you have to actually check to make sure that your vehicle's even covered. Because so many scan tools, they'll cover so many vehicles and so many different models, but leave out others. And then when they talk about all these different features on the scan tool, there's always a little blurb in there about, well, the features on this scan tool may not apply to your particular vehicle. And they always say, send a note with your VIN and your model year, and we'll let you know what the capabilities are. Well, I did that. And guess what? It said, they just come back with the same generic answer most of the time. And it just says, yeah, your vehicle is covered underneath the the parameters of this scan tool. But all the features that are available may not be available to you because of all the individual options that you could have possibly ordered on that vehicle that we can't know at this time. And so that's their way of saying, you know, you're flipping a coin, you're not too sure what it's going to cover, right? And this is where a lot of people get confused about scan tools, is they're buying these scan tools where it says, not only are you going to get free lifetime updates, but you're also going to get some kind of interaction between you and the scan tool manufacturer. Like, you're going to be able to have 24/7 service to call in whether you're having a problem or anything like that, and you're trying to figure out how this menu works or, you know, how to operate this feature on the scan tool. Well, a lot of people have found out the hard way that they tried to contact the company, and the first thing they ask for is the serial number on the scan tool. And they say, sorry, but you know, this scan tool is not in our system, or this scan tool was never designed to be sold outside of the USA. Like if we're talking about North America here, right? So I mean, you might have a scan tool that was designed for USA only, and you bought it God knows where, and there's, you know, you get no service, you get nothing out of them, right? And you know, that's another thing. And the third thing I found out was there's so many retailers out there that are selling scan tools, but they're not authorized retailers. And you'll get a scan tool for, say, 20%, 30% cheaper than any place else. But guess what? They're not authorized retailers. So if you have any contact in the future, say while it's under warranty, the thing stops working. You call up the manufacturer and they say, well, has nothing to do with us. They're not an authorized retailer. Now you got to deal with them. So I mean, the good point about if you're buying from some retail operations like the big ones, like say Amazon, if Amazon sells you, sold and shipped by Amazon, they're on the hook for it and they'll be good for it. Now they're not going to be able to fix it. They're not going to be able to, they'll just give you another one or your money back, one or the other, and that's about as far as they're going to go, right? But there's a lot of sellers on Amazon that are not authorized by the manufacturers to sell their scan tools. They just bought a whole bunch of these, and some of them, well, are they real or are they fake? And many times you'll never notice a difference until you're going to find out one day if it stops working, or if you try to get some customer service. Well, that's the thing. So the best thing to do, the best tip to do, is if you get one of these scan tools, and of course, if you buy it from a legitimate retailer and it's a third-party sale, well, say for instance if you go through Amazon. So you get the scan tool, the first thing you do is you want to call the manufacturer and you want to say, okay, I'd like to ask you a question about something. And they say, what's your serial number? And you tell them, and they say, okay, sure, no problem. And then guess what? That was a real one, right? And that's one that you're going to get some cooperation with, and you're going to get a warranty, and you're going to get everything else. But if you get one that's not, well, you can just send it back, and there's no problem sending it back. And in my experience, that's what happened to me last year. Is I bought this scan tool, for $200, right? Like I said, exactly like this one, but a nice big LCD screen, and it was all touch control, right? Instead of buttons. And Amazon took it back because it just didn't work. But try that with buying it off of some of these places like eBay or, some places that really don't have, well, just think about the return policy and what happens when you try to go for some warranty work or anything like that. Like I say, if you're thinking about a $60 scan tool and it just goes down the drain fast, because a lot of these cheapies will only give you like a really short warranty as well. Well, you're only out, say, $30 or $60, that kind of stuff. But a half-decent scan tool today, for somebody who wants to up their game, I would say between $1,000 and $2,000. So you really want to know what kind of scan tool you got, because the market is just flooded with legitimate scan tools, bogus scan tools, like pirated kind of copy clone scan tools, and then you got the ones that are legitimate. They have the warranty, they have the customer service, they got the backup, they got all the different regular forms of commerce that you could have between yourself and a manufacturer. And that's what you want to really go for. A lot of people like to shop by price. But I tell you, if you get a scan tool for $100 cheaper, and you wonder why, all the other manufacturers that are using authorized retailers charge a little bit more, and it's usually not a lot, right? What's the difference? Well, the difference is in the service. And a lot of times, $60 scan tool, I just go buy another one, right? If this thing here falls apart today, just go buy another one for $60. But I'm going to spend $2,000? Spend a little bit of time figuring out if it's actually real, or, whether you get any service or anything like that. But that's what I wanted to bring up today about, buying a scan tool and what you actually need. And I'm saying, for most people, $60 is really, if I can do it, there's going to be a lot of people who say that, but you can do so much more with a much better scan tool. And I'm saying absolutely. But with my skill set, I know what I'm capable of fixing. And when I go beyond that level, well, I just take it to the shop and get them to fix it. So thanks for joining me here today. I hope you found this a little bit of informative. And if you haven't seen this channel before, you're welcome to subscribe. Come back again and get some real reviews with some real, I would say, hopefully interesting subjects on not just scan tools, but all kinds of other tools as well. Cheers.